but I never felt his love. I've never felt, you know, what he wants from me. I've never felt anything. I just felt like it was more of a tradition. You go to church, read the Bible, and then go to Sunday. That was it. And then you go throughout the week, and you don't see him till next Sunday, and that's how things work. I was sitting at home and just watching TV, and then doing my own thing, just drinking wine and doing my own thing, just not really caring, just trying to just live my life. And it really wasn't working for me. I knew where I was headed, I knew where I was going, and I felt like, well, there's nothing I can really do to change that, so I just did it. I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to do what I can and just hope for the best. And then at some point, I just told myself I just have to accept it, and that's the way it is. And as I was sitting there in my own chair, I remember when it happened, I felt this dark presence come over me, and it entered my mind from the right side, and it just started like consuming me. And it was like, even as someone who doesn't even know God, you could sit there and be like, something's not right, something's off, and this ain't good. And it just started, as day one happened, I was like, hey, I don't know what this is, but it's driving me nuts. The attacks on the mind was just so intense that I couldn't even think, I couldn't even have my own thoughts. Usually I would rely on my mom. As a kid, you would rely on your mom to protect you, whatever it is. You were completely out in the open, vulnerable. You might as well have not had any clothes on and just been like open to the elements. And that's how it was, because there was literally nothing to protect me. I was wide open for this attack. And got to the point where my mom came in my room, and I went to my knees, and I was crying. I was just sobbing profusely, and I'm not one to really cry. I mean, not really. It's just not my thing. And my mom came in, and I went to her feet, and I just started sobbing. I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. If I go to the hospital, they're just going to give me pills, and that pills are just going to make things worse, and they're not going to help me. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel like my conscious self is shrinking, and I feel like I'm going to be one of those people where the lights are on, but nobody's home. And it was a very dark place for me. And my mom said, call my sister. So I said, okay. I called her sister, my aunt, and I told her what was going on. I was crying. She goes, well, let me put Christine on the phone, who's my cousin. She put her on the phone. She prayed with me, and through the prayer, she goes, yeah, you're dealing with some stuff. And she totally called me out on it, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm in a panic mode. I don't know what to do. And I said, I can't go to the hospital. If I go to the hospital, they'll just put me in some kind of mental wing, psych ward, or whatever, and give me pills and call it a day, and not deal with the issue. So when I said, can I come down? I wasn't thinking of how I was going to get there. I wasn't thinking of how much money I have in my pocket, because it's still a 2-hour drive to get to here, from there to here. And so she said, yeah. So literally that day when I got off the phone with her, I packed my bag, everything I had in like a little duffel bag.
Come on.
And I was trying to find money to put gas in my tank, and the enemy was fighting me left and right. I couldn't cash my check. The bank wouldn't accept the check that I had because it needed to go to a different bank because it's not the one that was. I mean, all these reasons where it was just I was hitting a wall. Well, luckily my mom had some money put aside that I could use, and so she put some money aside for me to take down there, and I was finally able to get down there. Well, I'm still dealing with these attacks on the mind that were just weighing me down and just wearing me out. I mean, I was like just being attacked and assaulted on all fronts, and there was nothing I could do. And I just put on Christian music and just played it the whole way down here. That night, I ended up at Church Alive, and I couldn't tell you what the sermon was about because my mind was completely in a different, thought process, and I just couldn't focus, couldn't think. All I remember is out of all that chaos, I heard who wants to come and give an altar call? Who wants to come down? And I jumped up, and I'm like, I'm at that point. It's all or nothing. And so I ran down there, and my cousin asked me, you want prayer? And I said, yes. I accepted Jesus into my heart that night, and all I did was fall to my knees, and I just started weeping and weeping, like uncontrollably. I didn't realize how much time was passing. But all I knew is my shoe went one way and I was on the floor another, and people were handing me tissues, and I through my tears, I was like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's a tissue. So I started realizing it was, and I was just so broken. I was just literally to that point of just such brokenness that I couldn't think of anything else. I was just so grateful that, you know, I actually found a salvation, found something that wasn't just going to put a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. Something that was gonna speak to my spirit and build me up and just work me from the inside out.
Come on, man of God, yes.
And from that night, I when I was receiving prayer, a buddy of mine came up and prayed with me. His name was Aaron. I'm sure you guys all know who he is.
Yeah.
And at the time when he came and prayed for me, I couldn't see who he was. I had tear vision, you know, when you get of all those tears you can't see through. Well, he came up to me and he put his arms around me, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I feel like this is like a daddy's chest. Later confound, he has children of his own.
Come on.
And I was like, wow, this is such a warm feeling of embrace. You know, I just felt loved. And most churches, they don't express love that way. It's more of a song and dance and see you next Sunday.
Come on.
And
Come on, tell the truth.
from day to day, sticking in and staying plugged in was the biggest thing, because when you give your heart to the Lord, a lot of people will just, okay, I'm fixed now, I'm going to go home. You got to stay plugged in, stay involved in a church, stay involved in fellowshipping with fellow brothers and sisters of believers. And I did that. I was like, if I'm not in church, I don't feel right in my spirit. If I'm not fellowshipping with fellow believers, if I'm not involved in a church activity, I just didn't feel right in my spirit. And this was 4 months ago. And to this day, I've been involved in everything I can get my hands in. And they asked me, do I have a Bible? And I said, no. At the time, I didn't have one. And they gave me one. And so I just been reading that one, and I just been reading the Word every day, even if it's just a chapter a day. I try to read at least one chapter a day. I'm almost at the end of the entire New Testament in the course of 4 months, and I'm absorbing so much of it. I'm understanding more of it than I did when I was raised in the church.
Amen.
You know, they have all these Bible stories, they teach you this, but it was just word. It wasn't food. It wasn't sustenance. I wasn't absorbing what I was reading. And I've learned so much through the course of Jesus' life and what he went through and what he was persecuted. He goes, the same thing I'm being persecuted with, you all will be persecuted with, because the world doesn't understand the love of Christ. They'll understand. And so through all this, I've just stayed in the things of God and things of church and fellowship, and found a family that actually cares, that actually loves you, that actually is happy to see you when you show up, that actually behaves like a family. And it was a total new experience for me. And I was literally transformed. The Bible talks about when you become a new Christian, you are a new creation.
Yes.
I literally, when I was prayed for and I was learning how to fight the attacks of the enemy, that I've learned that I actually am a new creature. I am a new creature. I actually felt like my mind literally got transplanted into a new body.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer that same person I was before. The same things that I used to do, I no longer have a desire or a will or a want to even pursue those things. You know? All I want is to go after the Father's heart. Whatever makes him happy is what makes me happy.
Yes,
that's right.
You know, and I've been reading that that through faith is the way to make the Father happy. Faith is what makes the Father happy.
Come on.
And I've been stepping out in faith little by little, and you know, and I've been trying to find work down here. God provided a job for me.
Amen.
I was able to start work.
Jesus.
It didn't work out, but you know what? While I was there at that work, even though it didn't work out, I gained a lot of experience through it, and I gained physical strength from it.
Amen.
Because
come on.
It's all preparing me for whatever God has me to do next.
That's right.
And the next job and whatever, because the Bible talks about hold loosely the things of the world. If you hold on tightly to work, job, whatever it is, then you're going to be so focused on that you're going to miss out what's really important.
Come on.
And
Amen.
for me, what's really important is what makes the Father happy. What makes the Father happy is going out there. There are people like me that are out there, that are hurting, that are suffering, that don't know the love of Jesus the way I found it.
Right. Come on.
I grew up and I didn't see it. I grew up in the church and I didn't see it. But I came to church alive and I really found out what it was really about, what it's really all about. the love of God, and what He wants for us, what His plan and what His will for us is. And I'm still growing it. The day you start thinking that, okay, I think I have it all figured out, that's the day you stop progressing. And so I don't care if I'm 80 years old, I'm still going to be learning. I'm still going to be growing. Because what we think we know is just a speck of sand on a beach compared to what the God's like, oh, you think you know everything? Well, that's just a speck of what I have for you, the knowledge that you can obtain. And I literally was like a child going through a process in the course of 4 months, and it's been an amazing experience. And for me, it's either succeed or fail, and failure isn't an option for me. It's because failure is death.
That's right.
Quitting, stopping is death. I know where I was before. Where I was before wasn't working. I was trying to do it on my own. It wasn't working. I've literally done everything from A to Z to find that happiness, to find what I'm looking for, and it just wasn't working. But when I leaned on God and I trust in His understanding and not my own, that's when things started happening that I'm like, all right, I'm actually getting somewhere with this. I'm not hitting a wall each time. And every time you hit that wall when you're still pursuing God, He's actually working on your behalf so He can find the door so you don't have to go around it or over it. You can go through it. And I've been actually pushing through the things of God and praying and fellowshipping and loving and doing everything He's called me to do, and things are just happening. Of course they seem scary at first, but who doesn't find things scary or nervous things at first? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm still pushing, I'm still getting stronger, and I'm still growing, and I'm still
Amen.
God is loving me, He's blessing me. I mean, things are actually happening that I didn't think were going to happen.
Come on, testify.
I'm actually, what do you call it? I'm actually seeing doors open where otherwise they would have been slammed in my face a long time ago.
That's right.
Or I would have
Come on.
It just isn't working, so I'm just going to quit. No, by the time people quit, that's usually when they see just before they see breakthrough. And breakthrough happens just on the other side of that. Keep pushing through, and I'm 4 months in, and I'm sold. It's either make it or death.
Yes.
Death isn't an option for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
I hope my testimony blessed you guys. And,
Amen.
Oh my gosh.
This is kind of new to me, so I'm still
did
growing.
great.
So thank you guys.
Yes.
Woo!
Amen. Woo! Woo!